The release of Resident Evil in 1996 was an immediate success worldwide and kicked off the survival horror genre of video games. These take place in a horror movie-like setting, and unlike most action games, you can't rely on being overpowered with unlimited weapons at your disposal. You're simply trying to survive with minimal resources in a world where health-restoring items and ammunition are scarce, and the enemies are overwhelmingly plentiful. Many other games in this genre would follow in the footsteps of Resident Evil, such as Silent Hill, also to critical acclaim. Squaresoft, the company known mostly for the Final Fantasy series, also decided to enter the fray of horror-themed games with Parasite Eve. This game is no Final Fantasy. In fact, it's the first mature-rated game from Square, and they don't hold back. When I first played this game in 1998, I was a teenager, and still in shock at the level of more realistic types of gore that appeared in this game, as it's comparable to the Resident Evil series. The game opens up with your character, Aya Bray, a cop with the NYPD, out on a blind date with some jerk on Christmas Eve. You had him take you to Carnegie Hall for an opera, but when you get there, you realize you're not really into opera, but you're going to sit through it anyway, just to make this guy suffer. Anyways, partway through the opera, during the solo number by Melissa Pierce, playing the part of Eve, everyone on stage bursts into flames. As the cast writhes and screams in pain, the whole audience and theater also ignite. All except for Melissa, you, and your date, who's a wuss and just runs off. On the other hand, you chase down Melissa, who is now calling herself Eve. She explains that the mitochondria in every living thing's cells is an actual parasite organism that allows you to exist, and now it's rebelling and attempting to become the dominant and sole organism on this planet. It has powers to shape a host to whatever it wills, as well as magical powers called parasite energy. Turns out, your mitochondria is also awakening, which is why you survived. The rest of the game is split over the course of Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas. You'll work with your partner to solve the mystery, whose family has also gotten wrapped up in this parasitic takeover, and not only save New York City, but the entire human species. The game plays out very much like an episode of The X-Files, a TV series that focused on FBI agents Mulder and Scully investigating paranormal activity. Even the title screen reminds me of the X-Files logo. Like most Square games of the time, this is a turn-based role-playing game. You'll spend time interacting with people at the police station and other locations around Manhattan in order to gain clues as to the mystery behind Eve. The combat is turn-based with a twist. You have an active battle timer that determines when you take an action such as attack, use items, or your parasite energy, which works like magic from Final Fantasy games. In addition to the active battle timer, you can freely move within a limited range around the enemies. This allows you to dodge enemy attacks in real time and position yourself to attack, since different weapons have different ranges, and some enemies need to be attacked in certain locations to cause significant damage. Enemies appear in random encounters, and you'll gain experience for defeating them. Alongside improving your stats by leveling up, you can also upgrade weapons, but you'll only be able to do this for a limited number of times in the game, so you need to be strategic about it, since you might upgrade a weapon, then shortly after find a much more powerful one, hence wasting that upgrade. On the other hand, unlike games like Resident Evil, there is not a shortage of ammo or healing items. Even monsters like rats and birds will give you at least 6 to 12 rounds of ammo per kill, and they always have the caliber ammunition that you need at that time. This game also has a lot of cutscenes. After Final Fantasy VII, Square really committed to including as many of these in their games as possible, and Parasite Eve is chock full of them. Graphics are decent for the PlayStation, and are incredibly similar to what you would find in Final Fantasy VIII. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if both of these games use the same game engine. Backgrounds are all pre-rendered, with characters, enemies, and objects rendered in real time. The backgrounds look great, but the polygon characters, monsters, and the overworld screen did not age well at all. I really enjoyed this game back when I first played it in the 90s, but going back to it now, I found that it played very slowly, and some parts of the game seemed very boring. I like the atmosphere and style of the game, but the numerous cutscenes and slow pace of many parts, especially in the beginning, made me feel like the game simply didn't age very well. Also, I can't go without mentioning that Aya is the slowest runner in the history of mankind. I mean, look at her. She has the record for running the 100-meter dash in just under 45 minutes. All things considered, this is an average game. If you haven't played it before and you like horror-themed games and RPGs, give it a try. Once you get through the long exposition early on, the story is pretty engaging, with plenty of mystery and loads of viscera to satiate any horror aficionado. As for its Christmas themes, it takes place on Christmas, and there are some holiday events in the city that will play into the story directly. Overall, I place it somewhere more Christmas related than Die Hard, but slightly less Christmas related than Gremlins. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got one more Christmas season review coming up, and it's by far the most Christmas themed of them all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.